Hi friends, I definitely missed you. Hopefully Insightful Healing was somewhere in your thoughts and your experiencing along your journey of learning this puzzle called life that we live. I did mention at some point last week, I don't remember which video, but that I was going to be transitioning, and so the transition has begun. So as you can see, today's setup looks different. It will likely look different going forward, but it'll continue to shift and budge, and I will flow with the energy in accordance to what's best for me, and also considering what's best for you. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Amira. If it's your first time here or you were wondering who I am, and this is going to be the Sense of Self session 61. Session 61. There is a candle lit. You can't see it or smell it or feel its energy, but I'm passing it through to you right now, so that you can be a part of that experience with me. I hope that wherever you are, whatever you're experiencing, that you're feeling well and safe and supported. And if not, know that you have my support in whatever it is that you're going through and growing through. I do have some intuitive messages for today's session, and it's sort of about language. Okay, not sort of, it is about language. Well, sort of. Sort of, right? You know, the energy shifts and it does what it does, but that's how it started off. So I was getting something about homophones, which homophones are two words that sound the same, but they're spelled differently and have different meanings. Apparently they are also, or can also be called heterographs. This led me down a sort of rabbit hole of semantics and phonetics, right? So some of you could be studying language or just thinking about words and their meaning. Semantics specifically is the scientific study of meaning in language. One of my special interests, if you will. I love words and the power behind them and the way that different words have different meanings. I love finding a new word that expresses exactly what I've experienced at some point in life and just didn't have the word or words to express it in its totality. It's a very relieving feeling is what I want to say. Okay, and then phonetics is the scientific study of human speech sounds, okay, which makes me think of auditory processing differences, which I have, maybe you have, or somebody around you or somebody that you know has some differences. Okay, but it's the study of human speech sounds, phonetics. This also it sort of reminds me of learning to read. Okay, maybe somebody's learning to read or read a new language even. Something about learning language and the layers beneath it. Okay, communication is a big deal here. This also, though, led me down a rabbit hole of how it sort of connects to sexuality and labels. Bear with me. Bear with me. It came directly from the idea that homophones is the, as I said, two words that sound the same but are spelled differently. They have totally different meanings, right? I'd never heard of heterographs before, but apparently it can either be called a homophone or a heterograph. So something here is interchangeable, maybe a label or something within your sexuality, or again, someone you're connected to, or the energy that is surrounding you in some kind of way. Sexuality is a very diverse spectrum. There are actually multiple spectrums within sexuality itself. As I'm saying that, I'm thinking of the asexual spectrum specifically. Again, this could be something that you resonate with. It's actually a deep dive that I was doing maybe a week or two ago. So interesting the way that these thoughts connect. I was doing this deep dive a week or two ago because asexuality is one of those, I mean, sexuality itself, like I said, is a very diverse thing, and it's very nuanced, and it's very person specific. You know, someone may have a particular label attached to them, but they experience it in a different way, similar to someone who is neurodiverse. Okay, also, as I'm saying that, typically, or very often anyway, someone who identifies as neurodivergent also has similarly a diverse sexuality. Words. Words, okay, words are not working. And sexuality is a way to express oneself, similar to how language and words is. So interesting here, okay. But yeah, I'd never heard of heterographs, but apparently you can call them homophones or heterographs, right? And similarly, along the spectrum or within the diversity of sexuality, there may be two words that appear interchangeable, but they have two different meanings, or they're spelled differently, or they just touch on a very minute difference. The example that I'm wanting to give is two examples, bisexual and polysexual. Or I just heard platonic. Okay, that's not what I wanted to say, but maybe that's something that you're trying to understand. What does it mean to be platonic? What is a platonic relationship? At what point does the boundary create itself from this is no longer platonic? Is it based on feelings? Is it based on actions? Is it based on a meeting of the minds? All right, I feel like somebody's trying to understand how to describe what they're experiencing. Sometimes we can't describe it with words, though. Sometimes it's described with action, okay, or with a meeting of the minds in some other kind of way, or in our through our sexuality, it can be just described as well. Yeah, so polysexual, bisexual is the first example I want to give, and then, well, yeah, I guess really along that tripod, if you will, we could say polysexual, bisexual, and pansexual are very similar, but they're different words for a reason. They have a nuance within them. That describes a very different experience. And it could be also that, you know, you're trying to identify your sexuality, or trying to identify a label that best describes your experience, but you don't fit into any of these boxes. Very common experience, again, especially with something that is so nuanced. That's why we're talking about semantics and phonetics. You know, semantics is one of those things that get people caught up, especially if you don't have a meeting of the minds, if you have two different ideas about something and it feels like an argument, you know, there's a lot of passion involved. You're saying two different things, but the meaning behind it is the same. It's semantics. And then it's like, how important is it to be heard and understood? What are you trying to get at here? What's the fight about? Okay, so somebody's trying to describe or define themselves or a relationship so that they can be understood? Or is this a fight to understand oneself, really? I mean, you know, this goes back to how the ego is formed, and what makes it feel more fragile, what makes it feel more safe, but that feeling may not be a fact. Again, semantics, phonetics. You know, how somebody says water versus water, it's still the same word. It's phonetics. is still the same word. It still has the same meaning behind it, but like somebody can still get butthurt. Like, why are you saying it like that? Why do you say it like that? Okay. I'm getting like Sagittarius energy. All right. So interesting. So there's a need to clarify, or a feeling that something needs to be clarified. But does it need to be clarified for the world or for other people, or does it need to be clarified for you and for your own growth and evolution of your spirituality, your sexuality, or your communication patterns, your relationships? Right? Maybe the world has a pretty significant challenge with understanding what your sexuality is or what this relationship is about. And so, there's the Hierophant, yeah. The Hierophant is about tradition. It's about traditional relationships and marriage and commitment, right? And maybe yours looks different than people expect, but it's still bringing you fulfillment. It's still bringing you happiness. It's still bringing you joy at the end of the day. This brings me back to that Aquarius full moon that we just experienced, that is encouraging us to more deeply step into our sense of self, not according to what the world expects or desires from us, but boldly. Unencumbered is what I want to say. I didn't mean to pull the tarot out first, but here we are. I guess that's what's happening. Let's pull some cards. So maybe you're deciding, like, am I poly? Am I pan? Am I bi? All right, you could also be fishing through like your relationship style. Am I monogamous? Am I polyamorous? These are labels, they're words. What's more important is what's beneath them. What is the feeling beneath them? What are the desires beneath them? And where do these feelings and desires originate from? Do they originate from what you were taught during childhood with no evolution of self-discovery? Do they originate from experiences that you've had that have taught you what you like, what you don't like, what naturally attracts and fulfills you? We have Temperance, the Magician, the Death card, Eight of Swords, and the High Priestess. 4 major arcana out of 5 cards that just came out here. This card also wants to show itself, the Moon. Okay, another major arcana. And the 3 of Cups is here. So, yeah, there is some sense of awareness that someone is attempting to reach by way of maybe observing themselves. I feel like someone is seeing themselves from a new perspective internally. Okay, a piece of self that has been hidden, that has yet to be discovered, that has yet to be nurtured in the way that it needs to. Temperance with Death showing up in this same reading says that you're ready to evolve. You're ready to move forward from something that wasn't serving your ego. Maybe it did at one point. Maybe it kept you safe, or I don't know. But there's a new level of awareness here with this Magician and High Priestess showing up, the 8 of Swords. Somebody's been stuck in this mental imprisonment, feeling as though no way out was the best way out. But this is us holding ourselves back. This person's looking at their reflection. There's nobody else that exists in this imagery. And truly, the true story is they're free. But that's why the Moon is there, because there's something within your reflection, or maybe in the depths of our insecurities, or there's something here that's seen. Okay, I'm getting that, what's that saying? Children are to be seen, not heard, or something like that. Okay, this could be something that you're subconsciously living by without knowing. Children are to be seen, not heard, keeping you in this infantile state that says you are to be seen, not heard. meaning it doesn't matter what your thoughts are, it doesn't matter how you feel, it doesn't matter what your opinion is. It only matters that you exist, and on the surface you look okay. So that wasn't important maybe growing up for you, or in past relationships, or your current relationship. Yeah, seeing a lot of sadness. I love the smell of new cards. Okay, so maybe parts of your sexuality have been hidden. All right, it's important too, like, again, going back to the spectrum of sexuality and just how important it is to as a part of our being, especially when we are growing up. Oftentimes, really, it's our caregivers that are uncomfortable with their own sexuality, or don't know how to navigate the nurturing of that seeds sexuality, because it's not just like, oh, sexuality equals the way my brain is set up. I was getting ready to say something real vulgar, but let's not, because we're on the YouTube. But it's not just that. It's not just about having sex. It's not just about being intimate with another person. It's about exploring yourself and understanding your desires, okay, which connect to your needs, which connect to your sense of fulfillment. Again, going back to asexuality, people who are on the spectrum of asexual, that does not mean that they don't have a desire, a need, and gain fulfillment in connecting with other people, or experiencing and exploring their sexuality without literally having sex. This is reminding me, actually, one of my youngins recently was asking me about my channel and asking me if it was made for kids, or if it, I can't remember exactly how they asked the question, but I told them, like, you know, I always mark my videos as not made for kids, because for the YouTube world, it's black and white. It's either you check off it's not made for kids, or you check off it is. And those are two very different categories, right? So yeah, I told them that that's what I check off. It's not that the channel is inherently vulgar or inappropriate, but inappropriate is also a spectrum, and it's perspective, right? So maybe for some of you, you could be considering how to have this conversation with your children, or something like that, or exploring it so that you can express and teach. Okay. It's a very intricate subject, and it's not just about our bodily organs. It's about our nervous system at its core. I keep getting multiple cards, just like, can we just get one, please? Just like the tarot cards got 5. I'm seeing the number 3. Interesting. I didn't see that here with the squiggly line. Could be deciding between 3 things, 3 days, 3 weeks, or a relationship that includes 3 people. Okay, or maybe you align with 3 different sexualities or labels or something like that. All right. We got number 23, another mirror image. So something about mirrors is significant. How we see ourselves versus how the world sees us, versus how, I feel like there's 3 sides. Okay, this is also reminding me of 3 sides to a story: my side, your side, and the truth. Never really understood that. It's like, I get it, but it's semantics. It's like my side, your side, and the truth is perspective. Everybody's perspective is going to be different. You can't argue somebody down for their perspective. It is pointless, and it's also very ego driven. It is so ego driven to argue down somebody's perspective. Like, what gives you the right to believe or say that your perspective is right? I understand, obviously, there's right versus wrong, but we're speaking in the realm of spirituality. We're speaking in the realm of psychology, not just the 3D realm, okay? We've got to go higher than that. My perspective is different than yours because my experiences have been different than yours. And if we want to get down to the nitty gritty, because my brain is different than yours. But ultimately, what is the purpose in arguing down a perspective? Yeah, there's some kind of conflict here because another person doesn't understand, but it's okay for people to not understand. You can still respect someone without fully understanding. The real question is, can you respect yourself without fully understanding? That's what's most important here. What's homogenous mean? 1 second. Made up of parts or things that are all the same kind or completely uniform throughout. Same race or kind. Okay, so somebody wants, expectations versus reality, right? Again, with this moon card. Expectations versus reality with this 8 of Swords. Expectations versus reality with this Magician. There's a new sense of awareness. There's a new sense of sight that someone has, either about themselves or the world around them, or another person that's connected to them. It's giving them a new perspective. And I feel like another person is trying to argue you down, or you're trying to argue somebody down. It just really is a pointless fight. And the fight is because the ego is fragile. The ego doesn't understand or connect, or it feels threatened in some way. But that is for us to reflect on. Why am I threatened by this other individual's way of expressing themselves and being? Especially if they're not directly connected to you, but if they are directly connected to you, are you threatened because you're unclear about yourself, my dear? Is that why you're threatened? Because you have failed to reflect on your insides, on your thoughts, on your desires, on the pieces of you that you're afraid to act on. Let's get our journal prompt. I was a little hesitant, but I wrote it. And I'm gonna stand by it. Because this is one of those topics that don't get talked about enough. It's such a taboo, right? Again, with this moon energy. But that's no more. That changes today. And there's no coming back from this kind of change. There's no coming back from this kind of change. The journal prompt I have: how can I reflect on my sexuality in a way that gently challenges my ego to grow? How can I reflect on my sexuality in a way that gently challenges my ego to grow? I hope that you were able to resonate with something within this message, whether it was for you or to initiate a new way of communicating with another person close to you. If something here did resonate with you, I hope that you'll come back and join me again as the tides continue to shift and change on my end. We remain connected and powerful in that subconscious space. Until next time, friends.